So welcome once again. We're going to go straight into the presentation. I'm going to give you a bit of an update on what's been happening over the last year, and then a little bit of a financial update on bits and pieces, and then some bits about where we're hoping to head going forwards. So nice fancy transitions going on. Okay, so just an update on the work over the last year. Our work in Zambia, first of all, which is obviously the main part of what we do. And we're going to start by looking at Eden Children's Village. So we have currently got to a point with Eden Children's Village where we have adopted 33 children into the children's home on Eden Farm. That means that 6 family homes have been built, and we are in the process actually of finishing the 6th house. And because some of our children are now at university, it actually gives us room to take on some more children. So this number should start growing in the next couple of months, because Michael has told me that there is a lot of children needing care at the moment. So Michael, I thought it'd be really good if you would just take a couple of minutes and share with us maybe the story of 1 or 2 of the new children that have come to the farm, and why they needed a place at Eden Children's Village, and how we come about choosing those children. So you can.
Right. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I will share about 2 boys we adopted the beginning of 2020. So one day, the teachers from the classroom started noticing these 2 kids who were coming to the school. They were in grade year 3. So I think it took about 3 weeks. Then the way these young children started looking, started changing all the days they are coming to school. Sometimes they can come without being bathed. Sometimes they can forget about the books and all those things. So one day the teacher called us for a meeting to say we have noticed about these 2 young boys in the class. They are not looking okay. So we called these 2 young boys, and we were asking them questions like, what's happening? Why are you not bathing all the time you're coming for the school? Why are you looking like this? You know, and the elder boy, who was about 10 years by then, said, oh, we have got no one to look after us. Said, what do you mean? And he couldn't answer us. So he said, okay, maybe we have to go back and check where you're coming from. So we involved a social worker and one of staff member from the farm, and they went to their house. And they found that that time the father died with COVID, and a week later, the mother also died with COVID. So these 2 boys were staying alone in the house, in a mud house, and the neighbor was trying to help out with, a few food which they can be supported with. As a result, it was a big case for us, and we had to engage the authorities to make sure that we do the paperwork, because it was one of the emergencies. We needed to look after these boys. And I remember after we consulted more to find out if there was anyone to take care of these boys, no one could come up. And the neighbor said it has been a burden for her, because she was also a widow looking after 6 children. So we ended up adopting these boys because no one was able to look after them, and they have joined the farm. So these are kind of cases we adopt most of the times.
Okay, thanks, Michael. It's really helpful. Yeah, so we, so I'll just change these lights out of the way a little bit. So we now have 33 children, and we try to take children who obviously don't have anyone else that can care for them. So it's much better to keep a child with a relative and support them in the community if we can. But we will take children who really are abandoned or neglected and don't have anyone else to care for them. So this is just a little view of the land as it is at the moment. We've got, I Catherine's.
The screens.
There you go. Well done, Catherine. So we've got 6 children's houses that you can see in that little circle. This last one at the bottom, which hasn't got a roof on in the picture, is now finished with a roof on. And the area in the middle is like a communal area that we've created for the kids. So we hope in the next couple of years to finish this, what we call a cluster, by adding 1 or 2 more houses there. And that will give us, each house gives us 6 to 8 children that we can take, maximum of 8 children in each house. And then from there, we will then begin building our second cluster, which will be quite exciting to see that coming up in the not too distant future. So that's Eden Farm Children's Village and where we're up to with that. The school on Eden Farm, we have filled up the primary school from year 1 to year 7. In Zambia, they start secondary school in year 8. So at the moment, we have about 330 children in full-time education. And we were joking as we've been traveling around with Michael, talking in different places, that's about 8,000 meals served every month. But if you are good at maths, you might think that doesn't quite add up. And the reason for that is that many of the children in the school, their siblings come to pick them up and end up joining the line for a meal as well. And so what we try to do is not to turn anyone away, but anyone who turns up and needs a meal, we'll give them a meal at Eden Farm. That's what we want to do. And if someone has walked that distance to come to the farm, they obviously need the food. So we try to help them wherever we can. So we're really excited about that. And we've got some exciting news about this year, because we're just kind of looking back over the last year, and then we'll share what's coming up in a few minutes to go forwards. So last year, we were really fortunate to be able to build the dining area. So this is our kitchen for the school at Eden Farm. And then this lovely structure that you can see in front of you is the dining area, which Life Support USA funded to be built. And we're still yet to put tables and chairs in there. We've got to get some funds for that. But this means that whether it's really, really hot, sunshine, they're sheltered. And when it's raining, they've got shelter from the rain to eat there. So that's been really good, because before they were eating in the chapel and making a real mess. So it's lovely to give them their own space to do that, which is really cool. So that's the school and where we're up to so far. King's Table is our project caring for people in the community. And this particularly is concerned with caring for people with severe disabilities, anyone who is unable to work, like elderly people, particularly with sort of who go blind and deaf and things like that. So what we try to do is not to create a long-term dependency on Eden Farm, but to give care packages for those who need it. So we will provide around 30 care packages a month, and some of these are long-term relationships that we're keeping. So there's about 10 or 12 that every single month we go to the same people, and then the other people will be different people in the community who are struggling, and we might just help them out for a few months, or they might become one of our more long-term people that we work with, just depending on the needs that they have. Obviously, the best thing is to get people into employment, to be able to care for their own needs, but where necessary, we'll step in and try and help them. So that's King's Table. As well as going out into the community, King's Table, also we look after a couple of people with long-term disabilities on the farm, and also in the community nearby, where we are like the sole carer for those individuals. And this young man on the screen that you can see is a little boy called Humphrey, who got malaria when he was a child, when he was a baby. And so it obviously has affected his brain and his development. And the reason we stepped into care for them was because Humphrey's mum would have to leave him at home on the floor alone for hours on end while she went to try and find work to feed the family. And so what we've done is basically say, look, we will support you as his carer. So we just give her a bit like a minimum wage type thing, and we just bring food packages to help her so that she doesn't have to go and leave her child alone at home. And sometimes she does do a little bit of work and stuff when the siblings are home and they can take care of their little brother. So that's King's Table. This is our motorbike that we use quite a bit to take out food packages into the community. Also doubles up as an ambulance. So when any of the children at the school are sick or anyone in the community near Eden Farm are unwell, they sit on the back of the motorbike and get taken to the clinic, which is, of course, what we all want to do when we're feeling really, really ill, isn't it? Ride on the back of a motorbike down a bumpy road. So anyway, that's great. Nurture, just a quick update on Nurture. We have not run a Nurture course for the last 2 years because of the pandemic. We felt it wasn't a good idea to gather women who had compromised immune systems together. So we put a pause on the courses, but we plan to start a new course soon. But in the meantime, some of the ladies who have graduated from Nurture, they still come to use the centre and to use the machines there and spend time really just encouraging one another and building a relationship. And they go out into the community and encourage other women there in the community who are struggling as well. So that's just a quick update on Nurture for you. And there's our lovely Nurture teachers. Just to encourage Zoe because she loves them to bits. So that's good. And then on Eden Farm itself, we are working towards a better level of self-sufficiency. So the long-term vision for Eden Farm Children's Village and all the projects we run in Zambia is that they will be able to be self-funded in the future. So to do that, we really have to develop the farm quite a bit. And this has been a challenge because every time, you know, we take the farm forwards a little bit, we start a new school or a new project or something, and then the costs obviously rise with that. And for me personally, my focus tends to be on, you know, caring for the needs of people. And we've got some great people helping with a sort of more long-term strategy, and some people who have got alongside us to try and take this forwards. And one of those particularly has funded us to be able to build this building you see on the screen, which is a very large chicken barn, and then in the background storerooms and stuff. So we are working on developing a large-scale chicken farm, pig farm, which we're just starting now, and then also piggery it's called, isn't it? And then a fishery, which we will be starting in the next couple of weeks, I think, Michael. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good. So tiny little fish will start growing, and we'll be very happy once they're fully grown and we can sell them for some money. So that'd be great. And then obviously enlarging the crops that we grow on the farm as well. So we've been growing the amount of, enlarging the amount of crops that we can grow. So that's been really good. Okay, so that's a bit of an update on the project in Zambia. Just going to touch base on a few other little bits for you. First of all, our work in Malawi. I'm not sure if Peter Kamote's managed to join us. He was hoping to join us on Zoom. In Malawi, we have, let me go to the next slide and I'll tell you. In Malawi, we've been able to give 12 children a home and a family to live in. This is the second of our children's houses that we have built there on the land that we have in Migoe, or just outside Migoe. So the two houses, one in the background, you can't see it quite so well, but there's 2 houses that we built there. And we've been able to buy some more land locally so we can increase the number of houses that we have there in Malawi as well, which is quite exciting for us. We don't go looking for children in need in Malawi. We're not particularly planning to grow the village at any speed. But what we do is when we're made aware of children who are left without parents, we go and investigate. And then if that is a true situation and we feel that we're able to step in and help, we do. So what's happened so far is that we've helped 3 child-headed families. And each time the chief of the village has come to Peter, who heads up the project there, and said, these kids don't have anyone to care for them. Their carers have passed away. And at home on their own normally, and no one to sort of help, you know, just take care of the family or make sure that they're going to school or anything like that. So that's where we step in. We build these houses and we provide a house mother to look after them. And what happens is their land that their family owned and their houses that their family owned still belongs to these children. So in the long term, they will still have land to farm. And actually, even the kids at a young age, they can still go and farm that land if they want to and try and bring a little bit of an income from that. So that land belongs to these child-headed families and they can share it. It's like in Malawi, most households have a small plot of land. it's quite an interesting way that things work there. So they still have land, they still have maybe a rundown home that's destroyed, but while they're living with us until they're 18, we'll take care of them, send them to school, and then once they're 18, they can start rebuilding that house, and they've got somewhere to go to afterwards, which is really good, and they'll to grow their own crops and stuff as well. So 3 families so far that we've taken on in Malawi. And one of the really exciting things that we've been doing in Malawi is drilling boreholes for the villages in the area where we're working, because most of these communities have no access to clean water. So their water sources are either wells, which sometimes can be fine, but they can become contaminated, and then they run dry in the dry season, riverbeds. And in the very dry season, it's not uncommon for mothers to have to walk hours sometimes just to find water and then bring it back. And often that water is contaminated, not clean water. So we are very grateful to the Sachs Foundation. I know they don't like me saying much about them very often, but they've really stepped up for this project and funded this borehole project, and we're incredibly grateful to them. And so far we've been able to drill 23 boreholes, and I was trying to work out the numbers, and we think it's something like 10,000 people who have now got access to clean water because of those boreholes, which is incredible, absolutely life-changing. And when I was out there last year, going around visiting the different boreholes, you could just see how grateful everybody was, and yeah, the real joy that it kind of brought to the communities. They send us videos sometimes when they start pumping for the first time, and there's quite a lot of celebration. So we're really excited about that, and grateful to the Sachs Foundation for their support in that. Okay, we are going to talk about Uganda, and I think Sawado is there, but we're going to come to that in just a moment. So I'm going to do a financial update. I'm going to try and make this as quick and painless as possible. Okay, so just bear with me. Hopefully it won't go on for too long. Oh, by the way, this is Veronica, who is one of our children from Eden Farm, who graduated from university last year and got married this year. And we're really excited that, you know, she's doing incredibly well. And yeah, bless her, we're really excited for her. So she's the first of our children to graduate from university. Okay, little financial update for you. This is just to compare to 2020. This is 2021's figures. Obviously, even though we're most of the way through 2022. So first of all, our income breakdown. Our regular donors grew to 68,000, which is great. So it's a growth from the year before of 62,000, which is wonderful. Fundraising dropped from the year before, but obviously there was all sorts of reasons for that. And when you compare that our gifts grew substantially, they kind of balance out really. So it's kind of a same kind of chunk of the pie, which is really good. And then other gifts, that tends to be gifts given specifically for things like travel and accommodation and things like that. Although that's quite a bit higher than normal, so I'm not quite sure exactly why I say that. But anyway, grants. This includes the borehole money. Grew quite substantially because obviously we've done quite a lot more with that in 2021. And then finally, gift aid. And then we've got added a new tiny little line. I don't know if you can even see it, but this is sales, which wasn't there the year before. But the village hub in Storrington opened and started selling merchandise for us from Zambia and Malawi, which we put towards the workout in Africa. So we're very excited about, even though it's a very small chunk of the pie at the moment, it's still there. It does make a difference, and it's growing. Actually, it's growing quite substantially this year. So we're really excited about that little line. Next year we'll actually get a figure above it because it will be a bit more. All right, so our income from the year came to about £190,000, which is a £60,000 roughly growth from the year before. So we're excited about that. That's a good step forwards, and we praise God for that, and very grateful for everyone who has given to the work that we're doing. Okay, financial expenditure report quickly. So 2020 was about £120,000, and we'll have a quick look at what that breaks down to. So UK administration is about £18,000. That's everything from wages in the UK to paying insurances and all sorts of things that we have to do as a charity. Lots of cover and things, unfortunately, that have to be spent. And then, but the biggest chunk, the £96,000, is charitable running costs, which is a very, very big piece of the pie last year. That was in a large part due to the fact that the pound dropped against the kwacha quite substantially. So at the beginning of 2021, we did a pay rise for all our staff in Zambia, which was the right thing to do. And we were glad to be able to do that. But at the time, I think we were getting 26 kwacha to a pound. And then by the end of the year, it had dropped down to nearly 20 kwacha to a pound. So it just meant that the pounds we were spending were going up. And that's continued this year to the point where we got down to 17 kwacha to a pound. So even though we were spending the same money in Zambia, the costs in the UK rose quite substantially. And we're very, very hopeful that international markets will think that our new government is a little bit more reliable and that things will settle down a little bit. See what happens there. But so the chunk of the pie grew quite substantially. We also added another class in the school in Zambia, and that obviously brings on a slight more expense as well. But the biggest part of that growth was just in the exchange rate between the pound and the kwacha. But praise God, we were still able to pay it. Amen. Next bit is charitable projects. So running costs basically means paying wages, fuel expenses, all those things that just need to be done every month, school bills. Oh, actually, that big growth would also include the fact that we have more children in university, so we're paying university fees. And then charitable projects tends to be like the building projects or buying a new vehicle or anything like that takes place. And that grew quite substantially. And a big part of that was down to the borehole projects. But we also did some building works last year as well. So that would come in there. Okay, and then the last one is travel, which just tends to be the trips that we take out to Zambia and the costs related to that. So an expenditure of £207,000, which is slightly more than our income for the year, but that was because we were holding funds from the year before for certain projects that got completed in 2021. That's it. That wasn't too painful, was it? It was all right. We got through it. Praise God. Okay, so I want to give you a little bit of a vision for 2022 and beyond. And I'm going to start by just saying hello to Sawado. So is Sawado there, Catherine? Can you?
Yes.
Excellent. Sawado, can you unmute yourself and say hello to everyone? I'm not sure the sound is working. No, it's not working. Don't worry, Sawado, it's not working. But
hello, guys. From Kigali.
Go ahead, Sawado.
Me?
Yes.
Hello. Greeting from Kigali, Rwanda. Nice to meet, to connect with, to see your face, especially you, brother Edward and the Michael. So Rwanda is missing you guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Sawado. It's really lovely that you could join us this evening. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, Sawado, we met at the beginning of this year. Actually, it was quite an amazing time that Michael was able to join us in Rwanda, and our friend was able to come with us as well. There we go. Excellent. Yes, so we had a great time out in Rwanda, just getting to know Sawado. And partly I wanted to put this picture here because some of the stuff I want to tell you about the vision for this year and the years ahead relate to that as well. So it's been really good to start a relationship with him. Just skip to the next slide for me. So one of the things that we started this year is a project called Angie's Kitchen. And Sowedo's in Rwanda, but he oversees a work in Uganda in one of the refugee camps there. And what's happened is they started a church and a school, and then the children in the school are really struggling in the refugee camp because the UN had to cut down the amount of support they were giving to refugees. So if people in the camp were working, they were able to support their family a little bit, but anyone who wasn't working, they cut the support that they were getting for food allowance. And actually the food allowance was actually only $6 a month per person. So it's quite minimal. It really doesn't go anywhere near taking care of their needs. And these are children and families that have basically fled trouble in the Congo particularly, but other places as well, particularly in the Congo, and come into Rwanda. So Sowedo's work is BAME, Bethel Active Youth Ministry, like them on encourage them and support them. They started this work in Uganda, and so when we heard about it, we felt that's something that we can do. We can help you to help this small school that you've started. But just along as the year went on, we heard about a little girl in the school called Angie, who died of starvation because her family didn't have enough food to feed her. And when we heard about that, we said that we can't allow this school to continue without the food that is needed to provide for them. So we put out a call funds for I think Catherine just kicked Sowedo out of this. I'm sure he'll rejoin, don't worry.
This cursor there's no right.
He's such a nice guy, Catherine. He'll forgive you, don't worry. Anyway, that's so funny. Anyway, so we were able to start this feeding program for 6 months in Uganda, and we hope to continue that. We hope to build a kitchen in the coming year and a borehole for them so they can have quick access to clean water, and continue the feeding program over the next year, at least until the situation settles there. But I have a feeling this might be a bit of a long-term need that we will be partnering with them. So that's Angie's Kitchen. There are more than 200 children. Yes, next slide, Captain. There's more than 200 children in the camp there. In the school there that we are feeding 4 times a week in Uganda. Okay, so the next thing is at Eden Farm. You heard that we've got to the point where we have 330 children in the school, and they've got to the end of the primary school. And last year, visiting Zambia, talking with Michael, really felt that we needed to make a decision. Are we or are we not going to build this secondary school? As trustees, we've had this conversation over the years, and our answer has always been yes, but it's easy to say yes. It's a different thing to do it. But we had this conversation, and we said we really need to make a decision, because this is the year. If we're going to do it, we've got to build the school this year. And Michael's response basically was, if we don't give these children a secondary school, that's the end of their education. And so I think we had a bit of a time of prayer, but that night it just felt like we have to do it. And we just want to praise God and say it's amazing. The funds have come through this year for us to be able to build this secondary school, and it will be starting in January 2023. So we're really excited about that the school will be opening, and it means that we've got a long-term future for the children on the farm, which we're very, very excited about. So that's brilliant. Okay. Oh, last one. Okay, so we are in a point at the moment where, as a charity, we are looking at the possibility of running a hotel in Storrington for a couple of years. Now, the reason for this is locally we've had a work with Ukrainian refugees in the area, and many of those Ukrainians and their hosts, unfortunately, they're getting to a point where the hosts don't feel that they can continue to keep those families. So they come to the UK, they've settled. I'm sure you've seen this stuff in the news about this as well. They've settled in the area, the kids have got into school, and now they're looking really at becoming homeless. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to try and see, are there other options locally that we can help these Ukrainian families so they don't have to start again in a new location, they don't have to move to a new town and everything changes for them. And also a lot of these people, if they do become homeless, they may well end up in sort of bed and breakfasts provided by the council, which are not great environments, particularly for children. So our heart is to try and avoid that. So getting in contact with the owners of the White Horse, they have said that they would be willing to make it available for us for 2 years to run as a hostel for Ukrainian families. We could probably take 10, maybe slightly more, but probably 10 families in the rooms in the hotel. And so we're in the process of talking with the council and waiting on them to see how much money they might be willing to put up for each family, to see whether or not this is going to be viable for us to go ahead. But this is something that we are looking at as a charity to be overseeing for the next couple of years. So it's still a work in progress, but it's something that could happen suddenly if all the pieces line up correctly. So we're just waiting to see what's going to happen with that. But we would really appreciate your prayers about that particularly, because it's quite a new venture. It's quite a different thing for us to do. But there's several things that for me particularly have led me to feel that this is what we should be doing. So I'm quite excited about it, but we also, we just need to be wise and make sure that we've got things lined up before we begin. So yeah, so please do pray about that. Be our first major project in the UK, which would be really interesting. Okay, if you go to the next slide, Catherine. And just to say that that's the end of the presentation. There is, you can turn that off now. That's the end of our presentation. If you missed any of that at the beginning, it is recorded and we can let you have a copy so you can hear what's going on. But we just wanted to open up to any questions, and then we have just a tiny bit of business to do while everyone's here, and that's it. So any questions? If you don't come up with any questions, I'll have to make one up myself. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you mentioned the care packages that,
Yes.
that you use in Zambia. Can you give an example of a couple of care packages?
Michael.
Yeah. So back in Zambia, we have got what we call staple food. It's called Nshima, and it's made of maize powder. So you grind the corn and you make it powder, and So our care package, you have to provide 25 kg bag of corn powder because it's like essential. Like once you have that, then you can make a lot of meals from that. So we provide one bag, then 750 mils of cooking oil, then 4 kg of beans, dry beans, and 1 kg of sugar, 500 grams of salt, 1 bath soap, and sometimes we put 1 tray of eggs or soya. Yeah, so that's how the package looks like.
So it's like the very basic food supply for the month for a family, and it costs us. I think initially it cost us about £30 a family or something. Is that right? About £30? Is that right? That's
about £25.
£25. Okay, about £25 a pound. Yeah.
So with that kind of package, the family of 4 or 5, they can have 1 meal every day. So once we provide 1 meal every day, we know that the family can't die from starvation. So the other piece, like for example, so normally most of the families, they will time the time they can make a meal. So it might be maybe between 3 or 5 in the afternoon, and they make a meal so they can go to bed and wake up in the morning and wake then they'll make a meal in the afternoon. So that kind of lifestyle. Yeah.
But then so it's not to do everything for them. It's literally just to keep them, you know, it's like an emergency package really. And then on top of that, they'll work or they'll grow whatever they can. So.
Yeah, and sometimes most of the people are receiving. So you find that maybe the carer has got stroke or is disabled or they have got mental illness and stuff like that. So yeah, the majority we try to help.
And that is mostly delivered through the church, isn't it? The people from the church take it out.
Yeah, so we have engaged the church to be helping because that reduces the cost of workers. Otherwise, trying to get workers from the farm, the labor will go high, but from the church, we have got more volunteers doing it, so it's much better for us to do that way.
Good. Any other questions?
What do you think are the biggest challenges next year, Mike?
Okay, good question. To start with, it's about the selection of grade year 8s because opening of the school.
That's for the secondary school.
Yeah, secondary school, yeah. So opening secondary school at the farm to be the first secondary school in that area. So we don't know the number we can get in because we know that we have got children from the farm who are writing year 7 this year. And automatically, if they qualify, they will be given the opportunity to go into year 8. But we have got other people who have written year 7 and they have got results, but they didn't proceed to year 8. So that is what we are trying to see, how many will come from the community with results showing that they can go to year 8. So we don't know now how many we can put in the classroom, but we made our classroom much bigger this time around so that if there is any increase in that, then we can definitely try to communicate and see, because that comes with the cost again. So it's one of the challenges coming up. Then the other thing is from the primary school, we have got a list of children who are staying with grandmothers. Some of them have got stroke. So anything can happen. They might die because the care is so bad, you know, they can't go to the hospital and looked after. So if anything happens, automatically those children will be coming to the farm. So that's why I was talking with Nathaniel the other day, like next year we might consider to bring more children because we know, because the way it's looking like, you know, I'm not saying we want them to die, but you can tell what is coming next anyway. So we have got such kind of a risk coming up. Then we have got another disaster which happened. People built houses on a plot of the mine. So now the mine have claimed to say this plot belongs to the mine, and they built mud houses and they have started demolishing. So I left. It was happening. They have done a certain area, so they are coming where Kapisha is near the farm. So if that happens again, there will be a spike of children not having houses, and they might end up going in the streets, or we might have a lot of requests coming over to the farm because sometimes they just turn up to say, please help us, and take us in, which is one of the foreseeable challenges coming up. Yeah.
So an increase in children needing homes and potential much higher number of people wanting places in the school than you have available.
Yeah.
There's a question online. Do you guys have a charity shop where children can go in and get things they need for free?
No. We have got a charity shop called DAP. I don't know if you have got DAP yet. So it's like most of the European countries and American, from America, they send second-hand clothes, but they still charge a fee in order to buy from those shops.
We on the farm, we do have a kind of a system where the children are able, if they need new clothes or whatever, they are able to come and take a certain amount of clothes at different times of the year and things. So we do have, it's not a shop, but it's something like that, so that make sure that their needs are met.
And it's free.
Yeah.
It's free, yeah.
Yeah, it's free for the farm, but sometimes before the pandemic, we had more people coming to the farm so they can bring second-hand clothes and we can stockpile the clothes and we can give children at different times in the year. But after the pandemic, where our stocks have gone low, so this time around, it's cost a bit to buy from the second-hand shops and try to put up our stock. But if we are having more people coming over, that changes the system because we get a lot of clothes coming over to the farm.
Yeah. So at the last couple of years, we haven't had many visitors, so our stocks are a bit low. But we are expecting quite a lot of visitors in 2023. So they'll all be given a second suitcase to take. We'll be replenishing our stocks quite a bit. So
Yeah.
As it is our AGM, it is an official meeting for the trustees, and part of that official meeting is that each AGM, the longest standing trustees have to stand down, and they make us aware whether or not they're willing to stand again, and if they should stand again. And so this year it's Steve Leach and Sylvia Onyekawelu. Steve Leach has said he's very willing to stand again, and since he's our chair of trustees, we'd be quite glad for him to stand again. And unless anyone has a big objection, I'm just going to assume that that's okay. Wonderful. No one said no. So Steve Leach is reappointed as a trustee for life support, and Sylvia Onyekawelu, I believe, is happy to stand again. So, any objections to Sylvia being a trustee? Wonderful. Oh, someone said something. Oh, it popped up. Who said that?
Thanks,
yes,
everyone.
I don't want Sylvia to be a. Oh no, it doesn't say that. Thanks. No, so so Sylvia also will be reappointed as a trustee. So thank you very much. That's our official business done. It's nice to see you. Thank you for coming. Well, God bless you, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. And if you did miss it, you need a link for the video. We'll be sending that out. So excellent.